Hello and welcome to episode of the Bubbs on Sports podcast. Today is Wednesday, March 1st. Hopefully everyone's having a good day so far. It is the middle of the week. It is Wednesday. It is the first day of March. An exciting month ahead. You have the March Madness. You got opening day, March 31st. This month, regular season baseball will be played. Spring training continues. NFL free agency starts up soon. Jets still looking for their quarterback as we're hearing some news coming out of the NFL Combine. Aaron Rodgers spoke today, and the NHL trade deadline is a couple days away, but the Rangers are already making moves. They've already made a ton of moves, and they're probably done making moves after what they did yesterday, making a big-time move, bringing in Patrick Kane from the Chicago Blackhawks. The Rangers are all in on a Stanley Cup chase, and this is their year. Chris Drury got it done. A little bit of cap maneuvering. He got the job done. Arizona came in late, took a little bit of Kane's salary, also got a pick out of it, and the New York Rangers ended up at the trade deadline with Patrick Kane and Vladimir Tarasenko. They also added some other pieces like Nico Mikola, a solid defenseman who struggled a little bit, but you hope as the season goes on and as this team continues to build chemistry, gets better closer to the postseason, gets better closer to the playoffs. This team's amazing. I mean, this is the best Ranger team I've ever seen. This is the best team in terms of talent. I mean, when you have a roster that has Mika Zibanejad, Artemi Panarin, Patrick Kane, Vladimir Tarasenko, Adam Fox, I mean, when you have a roster, Chris Kreider, that all those goal scorers on the same team, it's unbelievable. The Rangers have an absolute just dominant forward pairings. We'll get into it all. We'll get to the trade, what this means for the Rangers, and the expectation for this team moving forward, because really, this team, the expectation's got to be you got to go out and win a cup. You know, you go out and make all these trades, you got to go out now and prove it and win a Stanley Cup. So, a lot going on tonight. Knicks tonight at the Garden. Nets continue to stink. I mean, they got blown out last night against the Bucks. We'll get to the Knicks here in a little bit. But Knicks tonight at the Garden. Rangers will visit the Flyers tonight at Wells Fargo Center in Philly. Patrick Kane will make his debut tomorrow against the Senators at Madison Square Garden. He won't be in there tonight. So I don't want to say I'm bummed because obviously you'll get tomorrow's game. You'll be excited about it. But obviously it would be nice to see him tonight. Like, as a Ranger fan tonight, you're happy about the trade, but it's kind of like the game. Not saying the game tonight doesn't mean anything, but it's in a way, it's like, I don't want to say it doesn't mean anything, but it's like, Patrick Kane will be here tomorrow. It's like if we lose, we're all going to be fired up tomorrow anyway for the Patrick Kane debut. But you expect the Rangers to win that against a poor Flyers team on the road. So Rangers, Flyers tonight, Nets, Knicks, a lot going on in New York sports. Isles got the night off. Devils will visit the Avalanche, Kentucky as well on tonight. So a lot going on here on a Wednesday night, the first day of March. March is always a great month. October is always great. There's a couple really good sports months. Like March, you got NFL free agency. When you get to May-ish, April, May, baseball season full swing. You got NHL and NHL and NBA playoffs, which is always a lot of fun. You have some training camp and stuff, or not training camp, off-season workouts for the NFL. Then October's really good because you got October baseball, you got hockey, you got basketball, and you got football. So October is probably the best month, but March is close because then you got March Madness as well. So a big month ahead. A lot to get into today. We're going to get to the Patrick Kane news, traded to the New York Rangers. Clap it up for Chris Drury. He deserves all the praise. Everything that he's done at this deadline has been phenomenal. And this Ranger team right there, and Henrik Lundqvist over here to my right, which is off the screen, but got a big Henrik Lundqvist fathead over here to the right. This team is ready to go. This team is a Stanley Cup contender, a legit Stanley Cup contender, and you can make the strong argument it's a Stanley Cup or bust in a way for this team with the talent that they've now acquired. So we'll get into the Rangers. I also want to get to the Knicks. I got to talk about the Knicks. I mean, they've been dominating. They've been playing at a very high level. I'm going to talk about the Knicks. They've been playing very well, and believe me, tonight I'm hoping that the Nets find a way to come out and play well. They stink right now. I think they're, 2-5 since the trade deadline. Last night, sitting there watching last night's game, it just, you kind of got, and I hate to feel that way, but you kind of got the feeling of Just get this season over with. That's how I felt last night as a Brooklyn Net fan. And I hate that feeling because no matter how good or bad your team, you just got to enjoy the games and stuff. But I hate that feeling because you never want to rush the season away. But last night was like the first time as a Net fan, you were kind of sitting there like, just get this season over with. And hopefully they make it interesting a little bit. Hopefully they could start to play some good basketball. Maybe, win a play-in game or whatever. I don't even. At this rate, we're gonna probably fall to the play. So anyway, we'll get to the Knicks though. They're playing well, but I do want to calm Knicks fans down because they've been playing very well. But are the Knicks really going to go on and win a championship? Are they really legit championship contenders, or is this just a hot streak? So I'll get into that as well. Give the praise to the Knicks because they deserve it. But I think there is a little bit of too much hype surrounding the New York Knicks. But the hype surrounding the New York Rangers is real. And we'll get that started here. This is the Bubbs on Sports podcast, and let's get right into it. It is going to be a fun next couple of months as a New York Ranger fan. These next couple months have the potential to be some of the better months that we've seen as Rangers fans in a very long time. And I don't want to act like it's been a terrible ride for us Rangers fans. We got to the Stanley Cup back in 2014. Unfortunately, obviously lost to the Kings. It was a really rough series. I think we lost to the Kings in 5 games. This team's better than that team. I've said it a lot now. Obviously, last year you got to the Eastern Conference Finals and stuff like that, and you had many runs, the years prior, a couple big wins against the Canadians in the playoffs, Capitals, all that stuff. So we've had some really nice runs over the past decade. It's not like we've been in a terrible losing funk where we haven't made the playoffs, but we haven't won a championship in a while, and that's just the way it is. Since the 90s, obviously, was the last time this New York Ranger team has won a championship, and you can make the strong argument since that championship team in 94, you can make the legit argument that the New York Rangers are ready and are the best they've been, the most built up they've been since that team right now. With the moves that Chris Drury has made at the trade deadline have been simply remarkable. And we've heard the rumors over the past couple days. Let me just give you a timeline, because if you all remember, when we traded for Vladimir Tarasenko, the Patrick Kane kind of talk was out the window. And the Patrick Kane conversations have been going on for a while. Last trade deadline, they were going on into the offseason a little bit. Then into this year's trade deadline. And when we traded for Vladimir Tarasenko, obviously a couple weeks ago, we all kind of expected, at least and I came on the podcast and said, the Kane potential's gone. Because you got a winger, you got a guy that's a goal scorer, you got a top 6 goal scorer, and you figure, okay, Tarasenko solves that. He slots right in on the first line. They're like, all right, Tarasenko's there. But then you're kind of like, then you heard the news. Patrick Kane was actually upset. Patrick Kane wanted to come to the Rangers, and he had the clause in his contract with the Blackhawks where he could only get traded to a team he wanted to. He'd have to sign off on the trade. Kane wanted to go to the Rangers. He came out publicly and was upset that the Rangers originally traded for Tarasenko because he thought that would mean they wouldn't bring him in. And here we are, what looked like there for a little bit that the Rangers were not going to be able to do it due to the salary cap. They have now been able to do it. And obviously, credit to Chris Drury for being able to do it, for obviously being able to do the trade, figure out the salary cap. Because when we hired or when we signed or traded for Vladimir Tarasenko, sorry, I was getting my notes back up on the screen. Gotta get back here. But when we traded for Vladimir Tarasenko, again, I think we all kind of expected that to be the end of the Kane rumors. Patrick Kane said it himself. He expected it to be the end. Then we bring in Tyler Mont, was a very solid acquisition for our fourth line, a guy who played with us last season. And then there was kind of that one more move where the Rangers had some cap space, and we were all saying they got one more move. Is it Patrick Kane? Is it a big splash like that? Or is it another move that's kind of gives you a little bit of a goal score, gives you a little bit of goal scoring, gives you a little bit of a boost, but not a ton? And they then traded, obviously, Vitaly Kravtsov to the Canucks, dump off some of his contract, create some cap space. They get the Blackhawks are retaining some of his salary. The Coyotes are as well. They got 25%. And Chris Drury has moved around the salary cap and got it to the point where the Rangers have basically hit a point where they can't really make any more moves. They have officially gone legitimately all in on winning a Stanley Cup. A trade deadline that has now included, and this guy on Twitter today, Statboy Steven, I don't know if any of you have heard of him. He's a big Ranger fan. He posted this today. So Drury traded a first, a second that's conditional, we'll get into that, a third, a fourth, and a fourth, Sammy Blais and Hunter Skinner. Blais, who didn't work out, got injured last year, came in this season, wasn't any good. And Hunter Skinner, who was a prospect. For Vladimir Tarasenko, Patrick Kane, and Niko Mikkola. That's what we got in return. 2 top 6 really wingers and goal scorers. 2 top 6 goal scorers at the forward position. 2 guys that are phenomenal. A 3-time Stanley Cup champion in Patrick Kane. And we got a defenseman who's solid, but he's been struggling a little bit recently. But again, you hope now, and I feel like we all kind of get this sense as Ranger fan, and watching the Rangers-Capitals game on, Sunday? I think it was Sunday. The Rangers-Capitals game on Sunday. Watching the game, you can kind of tell, or Saturday, it was Saturday, because then Sunday they played the Kings and they got the nice win. And I felt watching that Kings game, it was like a little bit more loose. They were playing a little bit better. That Capitals game, though, felt like you could tell there was something like weighing on them. They just weren't, there wasn't any energy. There just felt to be not really much effort. There wasn't much physicality. They were just slow. They were sluggish. There was no real urgency to break what was originally, a 3-game losing streak, extended into a 4-game losing streak, and then obviously got back home, whatever it was, whether they were back in their home building, got the job done against the Kings, was a nice win, and you were like, all right, now we're back. And we get the Flyers tonight, and now I think you'll start to see, and maybe this is just me trying to be optimistic, but I think you'll start to see this Ranger team, because let's be honest, they were on fire. And now ever since the Patrick Kane rumors and the overall rumors surrounding the trade deadline, it's almost like the team, it's been hard for them to focus, because since that hot stretch, trade deadline has gone closer, and they've began to struggle. Now the trade deadline, for the Rangers at least, again, for the NHL is still a couple days away, but for the Rangers at least, it's basically over. I think you're going to see a better focus. I think you're going to see better performance out of this team, and I got to admit, I'm fired up for tomorrow's game. I'm also fired up for tonight's game. I'm excited for tonight's game. I'm a little bummed Kane's not playing because I want to see him out there. He'll be out there tomorrow, so obviously we'll get to watch him tomorrow. For those of you who are going to the Garden tomorrow, enjoy it. Should be an excellent game against the Senators. But Saturday's game against the Bruins at TD Garden in Boston is going to be one heck of a game. That is a big first true test for this new look Ranger team with Patrick Kane, and obviously Tarasenko has been in the lineup now for a couple weeks, previously getting traded. But I think you're going to start to see that out of this Ranger team. So let's take a little bit of a look in here at exactly what the Rangers are getting. Patrick Kane himself, his career, his 3 Stanley Cups, what he brings to the table, and how good the forward pairs are for the New York Rangers. How good they really are. And tonight, again, the full lineup, it will be interesting. So Keandre Miller's actually suspended 3 games because of the spitting incident on Doughty of the Kings, because he spit on him. It was an accident. It looked like an accident. I don't think it was intentional. But he spit on him. Doughty had him he apologized. Drew Doughty accepted it. The league still suspended for 3 games. Why? I mean, look, it's a spitting incident. He didn't intentionally spit on him, but they're ruling it that way, so we'll be out tonight, and Lindgren as well probably won't be in. So the Rangers probably most likely will roll with probably 11 forwards tonight and maybe 5D probably. They could go 11 forward 6D, 11 forward 5D. They usually go 11-6, but they'll probably go 11-5 tonight because Miller and Lindgren will probably be out. Those guys hopefully will be back either Thursday or Saturday. Well, Miller will be back, after Saturday, because he'll be out 3 games. Lindgren hopefully will be back soon. It doesn't seem like it's anything major with Lindgren, and I mean, he's a tough physical guy. I mean, last year he was playing through but I recall last year in the playoff games, like, out of all the games we played, there was at least 3-4 games where he got hit and he went off limping or hung, like crouched over, sliding off the ice, looked like he was in pain. Lindgren takes a lot of hits. It takes a lot to knock him out of the game. And I was worried against the Capitals on Saturday when he got knocked out of the game, because it takes a lot. He's gotten a lot of bad hits before. He's gotten cuts all over his faces. He's gone out where he hasn't been able to, like, skate off. He's had to, like, crawl off the ice, and he'll come back in the game. So to see him leave a game like that was a little concerning, but it doesn't seem to be something that is as major. That's what Gerard Gallant's been saying. So you at least feel good about that. In terms of, Lindgren, definitely a big piece of this team, and a guy that definitely come playoff time, his physicality is a huge piece and a huge. Every playoff team, you need physicality. And the Rangers have that. There's this weird thing going around with people that don't like the Rangers, like Devils fans and Hurricanes fans and Bruins fans. They're like, oh, the Rangers don't have physicality. They got all the goal scoring. What do you mean we don't have physicality? Lindgren's physical. Trouba is one of the biggest hitters in hockey. Trouba has turned into one of the bigger hitters in hockey. He knocked Sidney Crosby out of the Penguins series last year, and that completely changed the trajectory of the series. And it wasn't a dirty hit. That was a clean hit. I don't want to hear anything else about it. He's had a couple big hits this year. Right? He's physical. So the Rangers are physical. Now the defense has struggled a little bit recently, but now again with the trade deadline being passed, then we have to expect it to get better. But let's get into the full trade here. So the Rangers are getting Patrick Kane. They're also getting Cooper Zek, I believe. Another guy that they brought in. The headliner is Patrick Kane, obviously. Blackhawks are retaining 50% on Kane. And they're getting a 2023 conditional second-round pick, a 2025 fourth-round pick, and defenseman Andy Welinski. We'll get to the conditions on those picks very soon. Again, Blackhawks, rebuilding team, a team that's blown it all up. Won 3 Stanley Cups during Patrick Kane's tenure. It's time to reset. It's time to move on. The Blackhawks do that here, get a couple picks, potentially a first-round pick, which I'll get to the conditions here in a second. And they obviously retain some of his salary, get some picks, and they enter into a long rebuild after a couple really rough years. The Coyotes retain 25% on Kane, so total that's 75% between the Blackhawks and the Canes, and the Coyotes get a 2025 conditional third-round pick. So those are your Coyotes came in late, helped with the salary cap. They were basically like helped with the salary cap situation, said, all right, we'll take on some of the money, and then then they said, hey, give us a pick. We came in here, we got this deal done for you, give us the pick. And that was the thing, was the news came out yesterday, and that's what the Rangers needed. The Rangers and the Blackhawks had a deal in place. They just needed to find a third team with the salary cap restriction, they need to find a third team to retain some of his salary. They found that with the Coyotes. Coyotes also get a pick out of it, another rebuilding team there in Arizona. So the conditions on the picks. So the 2023 second-round pick that Chicago is getting is a 2024 first or a 2025 first, and this is if the Rangers make the conference finals. The 2024 is top 10 protected, would slide to a 2025 pick. So that Rangers, the first-round pick to the Chicago Blackhawks, could be a first if the Rangers make the conference finals, which, with this roster, with this team, the expectation is they do that. But let's be honest here. No Ranger fan is going to care. And I think this was the same thing last year with the Andrew Kopp move. I remember when we traded for Andrew Kopp and there was a conditional pick involved, and it was a first-round pick if the Rangers, I think, got to either the second round or the conference finals. And I remember they got to the conference finals, and a guy wrote on one of the sports apps, like, Rangers pick turns into a first-round pick. And nobody cared because the Rangers just got off of beating the Hurricanes. They came back from down 3-1 against the Penguins, so nobody will care. If it results in a Stanley Cup, who cares? So that's what the Rangers are getting. They're getting Patrick Kane, phenomenal player, as we all know. Great. I am so fired up for this move. This is the best I felt as a Ranger fan in a very long time. I was pretty amped last year after we beat the Hurricanes in Game 7. That was probably the best I felt. Also, to obviously go to the Stanley Cup against the Kings was awesome, but to lose it like that, in 5 games was really rough. But Patrick Kane, he brings so much to the table. Another goal scorer. This is a team that it also takes some of the pressure off of Igor. There was times last year where the Rangers would score 2 goals in a game and need Igor to dominate. This is a team that's capable in a playoff series of scoring 4 or 5 goals. They are. That's how good this team is. So when you look at the forward pairs now, it's Kreider, Mika, Tarasenko. Excellent. You had a 50-plus goal scorer last year in Kreider. You have Mika, who is excellent, and you got Tarasenko. Your second line is Panarin, Trocheck, Kane. Third line, Laff, Hedel, Kakko. And in your fourth line, Vesey, Gaudreau, Tyler Mott, who's actually also brought in over in a solid fourth line piece. Jimmy Vesey's actually been pretty solid in his return with the Rangers. Obviously played with us a short time before this year, but he's been really solid this season. The kid line reunites. Laff, Hedel, Kakko. Love the kid line. You add Schneider as the defensive pairing on that line, and Schneider can pair with either Harper, which will probably be tonight, Lindy as well. But it really is the kid line because you have Schneider, Kakko, Hedel, and Lafreniere. He's excellent. I mean, the Ranger kid line is excellent. It's underrated. The across the league viewpoint on it is underrated, but they had that great shift last year against Tampa where they scored and they kept the puck in for about a minute and a half in the Tampa zone. They got a ton of opportunities. They always add, they can always add that kind of, that boost of energy. Can add a little bit of a scoring jolt. Like I know when you look at their, and Hedel obviously had that hot stretch, and Hedel's had a very good season. Kid line's excellent. The fourth line solid. Obviously shirted up with Mott. They needed a fourth line piece. They bring him back, a guy who's already played here. And then Tarasenko and Kane are the big two acquisitions. Kane this season, 16 goals, 29 assists, 45 points. He's, scored 26 goals last season. He's been a 40-plus goal scorer throughout his career. In his career, he's had 1,225 points. He's one of the best goal scorers in all of the game. Him and Tarasenko, what they bring to the table in terms of their goal scoring is insane. It is up there amongst the league's best. And look, you want to win a Stanley Cup, you got to go out and get guys who have done it. Tarasenko's done it, and Patrick Kane has done it. He's won 3 Stanley Cups with the Blackhawks. They had those great runs during the Patrick Kane era. He is one of the best. He's one of the best Blackhawks of all time, obviously, and he's one of the best players in the league, when it comes to goal scoring and what he brings to the table from that standpoint. And again, talk about, wanting to bring guys in. You also got guys that have experienced it. He's won 3 Stanley Cups. He's experienced a ton of success. He knows what it takes. And something else to keep an eye out on, Panarin has played with Kane. He played with Kane earlier in his career in Chicago. They played together. So to now have Panarin, Trocheck, and Kane, Panarin and Kane specifically on the same line together, Gerard Gallant said today, kind of laugh, in a funny manner, he said any fool can put those lines together, which is funny because it's the truth. They played together obviously in Chicago. Tomorrow night, you'll get to see that again in action with Panarin, Trocheck, and Kane. Kreider, Mika, Tarasenko. The first 2 lines. The goal scoring there. Even Trocheck, who is very solid. And we all know, he with Carolina last year. Another just solid piece. We all know what Kreider, Mika, Tarasenko, Kane. We have 5 legitimate goal scorers. And don't, again, and this is just a message to the NHL, to the rest of the teams, the kid line is very good. I know when you look at those guys and you look at their individual numbers, you might say, they're all right. But when they get hot, they're you can make the argument they're our best line at times when they're hot, when they're rolling. And there's games where we'll be struggling and the kid line has a good shift where they get some chances, score a goal, and the game changes. And we saw that last year against Tampa. They had that big shift and the game changed. So they were very good in the playoffs. So the kid line is very good as well, and in the fourth line as well, which Drury upgraded. Drury deserves so much credit for this trade deadline. He deserves so much credit. He realized, look, salary cap, we can make it happen. Next year, the salary cap's going to get interesting. Not saying this is the Rangers' only window, but this is, you can maybe make the argument, their best shot at winning a Stanley Cup. This year, you can make the argument. Again, next year, they'll have a very good chance. But this year will probably be their best shot at it. Their best shot. Drury recognized that. He realized this team is all in, win now. And the moves they have made, this team's built to win a Stanley Cup. Period. That's how it is. And I'm fired up. You look at the D pairings, Mikkola, Fox, Miller, Trouba, and then Harper, Schneider, and you also throw Lindgren as well. Lindgren and Miller obviously are missing some time right now, so they'll be back. Miller suspended 3 games, Lindgren out with the shoulder, which he injured against the Capitals. But I think all around, like, I really believe, and this team has 22 games, well, 21 technically, because Kane will be in the lineup tomorrow. This team has 21 games to prepare. They got 21 games to gel. They have 60 games in, 82 games in a season. They got 21 games, basically. They got 22 games left. Tomorrow they'll have 21, because they'll start out. They got 21 games to gel. And you expect 21 games here, gel, build chemistry, and go into the postseason rear and ready to go. That's the expectation. They currently stand 34-17-9, 77 points, 6-3 in their last 10 on a one-game win streak. Obviously, 17-10-4 at home, 17-7-5 on the road. And as I mentioned, I am really, really excited to watch Bruins-Rangers Saturday. That's going to be a fun game. 47-8-5 Bruins versus a new-look Rangers team. That's going to be excellent. That's going to be a good test for this Rangers team. It's going to be a really good test. That's going to be exciting. So I'm fired up. It is an exciting time to be a Ranger fan. This is the best I've felt in a very long time. This is, I think, this is the best Ranger team that we've seen definitely in the past couple of years. They have loaded up with talent, loaded up with goal scoring. Panarin right now, you have a 30-plus goal scorer in Mika, 25 goals with Kreider. You add obviously Tarasenko to the mix. Now you have Patrick Kane to the mix. Artemi Panarin with 48 assists, 19 goals. He leads the team in points. I mean, phenomenal. This team is built and legit. And let's not forget Igor Shesterkin, one of the better goalies in all the NHL. He's another guy as well, man in the net. Amazing. So I'm fired up. Ranger fans, you should all be as well. This team's legit. This team is ready to go win a Stanley Cup. All right, so now we're moving on to a little New York Knicks. Patrick Kane is a New York Ranger. Man, that sounds so good. But we got to move on because I could talk about this for days. Been talking about it all day. Been talking about it all yesterday. Was looking forward right when the deal went down yesterday. I was really hyped up to do this pod today. So got that in. Patrick Kane, New York Ranger. Let's go. Rangers, Stanley Cup. They're ready for it. They're ready. All in. So now I move on here to a little basketball and to the other team in New York. So it's the New York Knicks at the Garden. The other team, we'll see here. We'll see how it all ends up playing out. It'll be interesting. I mean, the Knicks are going to make the playoffs. But it'll be interesting to see how the Rangers and the Knicks, like if they're both in the postseason, which they will be, obviously, that's going to be a lot. That's going to be fun. That's going to be a lot of playoff action at MSG. But the Knicks right now are cruising. They're rolling. They're the hottest team really in the NBA, and I can't deny that. They've been playing great basketball. They are currently on a 6-game win streak. Now, the Bucks are actually the hottest. They're, 15-game win streak, I think it was. I think Ryan Ruocco said yesterday on the broadcast. I think it's 15 games straight. They got the win last night. But the Knicks are still one of the hottest teams in basketball. They're really probably the second hottest team in basketball behind the Bucks in terms of the way they're winning, in terms of the teams they're beating. And look, this Knicks team's been phenomenal since the trade deadline. They brought in Josh Hart. I mean, what a pickup he's been. Jalen Brunson has been phenomenal. And Julius Randle is looking a lot like the Julius Randle in his first season with the Knicks, where his first year, really good, got to the playoffs. Second season, really struggled last year. Knicks missed the playoffs. It felt like it was back to phase 1 with the Knicks. And now, Mavericks let Jalen Brunson walk. You bring him in the offseason, a big 4-year deal. Julius Randle comes back after many people wanting him gone, rightfully so. And you bring in Josh Hart at the trade deadline. And this team has been simply unstoppable recently. They've gotten wins against the Nets, the Hawks, the Wizards, the Pelicans, and the Celtics. Jazz, Nets, Hawks, Wizards, Pelicans, Celtics. Those are the 6 teams they've beaten. Obviously, the 2 most notable ones, a 22-point victory at home against the Pelicans, And then the other night, which really kind of put the league on notice, was beating the Boston Celtics by 15 at home at the Garden to get the 6 straight wins to officially jump the Nets in the Eastern Conference standings to the 5 seed. 36-27. They are now 9 games back. Nets are 34-27, 10 games back. They jumped the Nets. They're the number 5 seed in the Eastern Conference, and they extended their win streak to 6 games, and they beat, at the time, the 1 seed Celtics, who right now stand 44-18, 7-3 in their last 10. That was by far their biggest win of the season, and that's by far been one of their best wins in the past couple seasons, without a doubt. And I'm not denying what the Knicks have done. They're deep, they're physical, they bring a lot of energy. They've been phenomenal. They've been great. Don't get me wrong. And I want to make that clear. They have been. Randall's been excellent this season. The fact that Jalen Brunson putting up 23 a night and dishing out 6 assists and some of the big shots he made, the fact he wasn't an all-star is a robbery. Randall leading the team in points. Josh Hartson's coming over from the trade deadline has been like since coming over at the trade deadline, he's been insane. And what's crazy about all this is the Knicks are doing all this, and Barrett's still not at times playing his best basketball. Just imagine if Barrett gets going, how good they can be. Very good team, don't get me wrong. In 6 games with the Knicks, coming off the bench, Josh Hart putting up 13 a night. 13 a night. In his career, he's a 9.9 per game guy. Josh Hart right now is putting up some of the better numbers we've seen him put up throughout his first 6 games coming off the bench. A depth piece for the New York Knicks. Now, I want to make this clear. Again, very good team. Lots of potential. Lots of excitement. You get Mitchell Robinson back into the fold. You really feel good about things with your bigs. Again, the depth that Emmanuel quickly brings. 23 points off the bench the other night against the Celtics. Josh Hart as well. They've got depth. They've got physicality. They've got a lot of energy. They've also got a good mix of some veteran pieces and some youth pieces, right? And again, and I mentioned this, Barrett the other night shot, 4 of 14, I think it was. I think he only had, 10 points. 4 of 14 he shot. Barrett's had a rough year. He's been one of the Knicks' worst defenders and really has those cold shooting nights. But the fact that he hasn't gotten going, as a Knicks fan, you can look at it one of two ways. You can look at it and say that's concerning, but you could also look at it and say, we're winning, we're doing this without Barrett really having his best season. He's been struggling. You can make the argument when you look at some of the metrics and some of the stats that he's had one of his worst years of his career. And again, this is only his 3rd season. It's not like he's been in the league in 10 years and he's in his prime. We're obviously seeing a dramatic drop-off. But if he does get going, just imagine what the Knicks could be. All of that being said, let's pump the brakes a little bit. And I'm not a Knicks fan, and maybe if I was, and I'm taking my fandom out of this, the Nets stink. I will admit to that. Okay, they stink. So by no means am I trying to compare the Nets and the Knicks. Like the Nets are the Knicks are better than the Nets. I hate saying it, but they are. So the Nets not being a championship contender anymore, just because what I'm about to say about the Knicks, my fandom's out of this. This is my true feeling seeing the Knicks play this year. They're a very good team. Don't get me wrong. And especially after watching the Bucks last night. I just don't see a world where the Knicks can beat the Bucks or even, again, pump the brakes a little bit. Jaylen Brown was out for the Celtics on, what was it, Monday? Monday was their last game, right? Was out for the Celtics against the Knicks. Very good win. Beat Jason Tatum. Great play. Great win. But you run into them in the playoffs, a healthy Jaylen Brown you're going to run into. And he's a big part of that team. He's had some of his best seasons over the past couple years. Another year being an all-star. He's been phenomenal. Him and Jason Tatum are their 1-2 punch. They were missing Jaylen Brown. Great win, but let's not act like they beat a full-strength Celtics team. Everybody, when the Nets beat the Warriors early in the year, was like, oh, It's not a full-strength Warriors team. They were missing Steph Curry. So let's say the same here. And I know Jaylen Brown's not Steph Curry, but he's a huge part of that Celtics team. So to say that this Knicks team is going to go on and win a championship, to say that they're going to go on and get to the Eastern Conference Finals and make this strong push, I just don't see it. I don't. Win a playoff round, I don't think it's crazy to say that they can maybe beat the Cavs. I don't. A couple weeks ago, I would have thought you were crazy, especially with Jalen Mitchell. I got Jaylen Brown and Donovan Mitchell mixed up. Especially with Donovan Mitchell putting up 70, obviously a couple weeks ago, or more like a month ago now. But if you asked me this about a month or so ago, if the Knicks could beat the Cavs, I would have said no. Now I don't think it's crazy. But do I really see this Knicks team taking down the Sixers? No. They lost to them the other night. That was their last loss, was against the Sixers. After that, they've gone in this win streak. I don't think they could probably take down the Sixers. And they'll get another look at the Celtics. They will Sunday. I believe this Sunday, actually. They'll get another look at the Celtics on the road. You beat the Celtics on the road, and if Jaylen Brown's out there, you maybe will get me to buy in and say, all right, this team maybe can become an Eastern Conference Finals team. But if they lose to the Celtics on the road and Jaylen Brown's healthy, not saying that it goes back to reality, but not saying it goes back to, the Knicks aren't any good, but it does prove, okay, they beat them without Jaylen Brown. With Jaylen Brown, they couldn't get past them. Now, it was on the road, but they would have to go on the road in a playoff series. I think this Sunday against the Celtics is a bigger measuring stick game for the Knicks than I think their last time out against the Celtics. If you face a healthy Celtics team on the road, which is what you're going to have to do in the postseason if they're healthy. You're not getting the 2 seed and the Celtics the Celtics are going to be home. You're not going to jump the Celtics and get a higher seed than them like the 2 seed. And the Bucks too. I don't foresee the Knicks stopping Donovan Mitchell in the Bucks. So they can beat the Cavs, I think, potentially. And then depending on how the playoffs play out after that, do they really get to the Eastern Conference Finals? And I don't think this is a team that's going to get to the NBA Finals. And if they get to the NBA Finals, are they going to seriously beat the Nuggets? Are they? Are the Knicks where the Nuggets are right now? I don't think so. Knicks are they're going through a hot stretch. And don't get me wrong, they're a very good team. And I do think they potentially could beat the Cavs. I do think so. Potentially. But this was just a team, though, 2-3 weeks ago that everybody was saying was in the basement of New York sports and was the furthest away from the championship. Now, all of a sudden, they're winning a championship this season because we've seen them win 6 games in a row. Let's pump the brakes a little bit on the New York Knicks hype. They're playing well. Don't get me wrong. But are they really a championship contender? No. Now, you get to the playoffs, anything can happen. But I still don't foresee them beating the Celtics in 7 games. And I still don't foresee them beating the Bucks in 7 games. And the Sixers are tough. Now, out of the 3 of those teams, I would give them the best chance against the Sixers because the Sixers have struggled in the playoffs. And I've said I think they're capable of beating the Cavs, but the Bucks are unstoppable. I mean, the Bucks are on a 15-game winning streak. Nobody's talking about it. Nobody's talking about the Bucks right now. They're on a 15-game win streak. And maybe it's because, New York sports, they're the big story, the Knicks are, and so are the Rangers, and that's all we've heard about, rightfully so. But the Knicks are the Bucks are on a 15-game win streak. I didn't even really know they were on a win streak until last night. That's how crazy it is. They're on a 15-game win streak, the Bucks are. You haven't even heard about it. They're going about their winning ways. So, the Knicks are very good. They're a exciting team to watch right now. They are, and I hate saying it, but they are. To take your fandom out of it, they've been good. But they're not a championship contender. And I really don't know if they'll get to the Eastern Conference Finals. Let's pump the brakes a little bit on the New York Knicks hype. All right, so that's what I got for the Knicks and the Rangers. As we close things out here on the pod. All right, so as for tonight in the world of New York sports, as I mentioned, you got Nets-Knicks. Man, I hope the Nets win. I do. The Knicks excitement and the Nets downfall has been rough for a Nets fan. When just a month ago, it was the complete opposite. That's what's crazy. But you got Nets, Knicks tonight at the Garden. Anytime those two teams face off, it's always fun. You got Rangers, Flyers tonight. Nationally televised game, TNT. So for those of you who usually don't get the Rangers, you got them tonight. National television against the Flyers. Hoping for a win, but tomorrow night's obviously the big one. Patrick Kane's debut. And then Saturday will be awesome against the Bruins. Patrick Kane, Vladimir Tarasenko, and all the other pieces on this roster against the Bruins. That's going to be a good test for the Rangers. That is. It's going to be a good test for them right after these acquisitions. So that's it. Kentucky also tonight against Vanderbilt. Senior night, last game at Rupp for the season. And then they'll wrap up the season against Arkansas. You win 2 more games. Ended on a 2-game, win these next 2 games. You feel really good about going into the tournament, SEC, and then obviously March Madness tournament from a Kentucky point of view. So stay tuned. A lot more content coming. Enjoy all the sports on. Rangers tonight, Nets, Knicks. A lot going on. As always, hope you enjoyed it. And thanks for watching.